It's the Public Works Committee of the City of Hudson. We're meeting on Monday, June 10th at 5 p.m. My name is Joy Knutson. I represent District 3 in the City of Hudson. And first item, I'm going to call the roll tonight. Mike Kennedy, present. Here and accounted for. And also, I believe we have another council member online tonight, Sarah Brook.
Here.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for chiming in. So we have our quorum here for our council members. I'd also like to introduce other staff members present. To my right is Mike Mraz, who's the Director of Public Works and Parks in the City of Hudson, and the Executive Assistant for that department is Deb Andrews. And to my left is Aaron McPhee Anderson, who's the City Engineer in Hudson. So the next item on our agenda tonight is approval of minutes. Is there any comments, suggestions, or corrections?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, thank you. Next, we do have a time slot available for any citizens who would like to come and express concerns or bring a topic towards us that they would like us to address in the future or be aware of. And so we do allow this time for anyone to be present. No one is in the building tonight, so that we'll move on from that item. And let's see, new business, evidently we don't have anything that's officially new business tonight. So item 6, old business. Item 6A is allocation of remaining ARPA funds to the street maintenance and traffic safety projects. And I believe Mike Ross is going to take that.
I'll take this one, and then Aaron, if you want to chime in with anything, please feel free to do so. So this is a carryover from the meeting from last month. So we have $43,000 remaining in ARPA funds that were designated to public works projects. Staff have identified some crack filling and striping at the last month's meeting, and said that we would kind of sharpen our pencil and get another quote and bring it back to this month's meeting for discussion and possible action. So we originally received a bid or a quote from Allied Blacktop to do the streets that were listed on your issue sheet. They had a total, which includes traffic control, of $37,212. So since then, we had reached out to the St. Croix County because they offer these services as well on a smaller scale. They don't do anything large, but smaller bits they can come in and do. So reached out to them, kind of gave them a list and how many lineal feet of cracks that we have, and they came back with a quote of $20,000. So significantly less than what we had received from Allied. So that's reflected in the issue sheet for crack sealing at $20,000. And then the striping, Aaron, do you want to expound where you got those pricings from?
Yeah, the pricing for the striping is coming out of our 2024 street reconstruction project. So we would kind of change order it into our current contract with Haas. And I already talked to them briefly. They said it's not a big deal to just add some more striping. So though the linear footage and the price is, based on that, so.
Okay. So if you add the crack seal quote that we got from the county, plus the striping that we have listed on the issue sheet, which is Grandview Drive center line and First Street center line, that brings us to approximately $31,500. So meaning we would have about $12,000 remaining in that ARPA fund. And a couple other things that we have discussed internally as staff as we've begun to have some of these traffic safety committee meetings, talking about just overall safety within the community. We found an obvious need for another speed control sign coming in on Stage Line Road into the community. A main thoroughfare coming in, have received multiple complaints and kind of had a discussion with the chief, the fire chief, myself and Aaron looked at the data. We went out and collected data for a few days just to look at the speeds out there, and it does warrant a speed display sign. And so just kind of internally what we're recommending, obviously it's up to Public Works Committee, Finance, and Council what to ultimately do with that funds, but just thought it was for the amount of money that we had remaining, we thought it would tick something off the box that people have been desiring for the last several months to a year. So with that, I guess, do you have anything else to add, Aaron?
No, not really.
Okay.
Unless there's questions.
So I guess what we're looking for tonight is just obviously general discussion, and if everyone's on board with what's being proposed, just a motion to approve the, street maintenance items as identified in the issue sheet.
I guess I'll just mention The traffic safety items still do need to go through the Public Safety Committee, so that would eventually, since these were items that were on the traffic safety reporter that we have, our whole process is to go through public safety, which we haven't yet for those 2 items. It should be on the next agenda. And then I think it would go to council just to get it approved. But I would just basically in that meeting say we're able to finance these items with this fund.
So are you, just to clarify?
Yeah.
The traffic safety reporting program that we've implemented as part of our policy that council adopted, and lots of hard work went into developing that. The in-house staff committee has met several times to address complaints or concerns that came through.
Yes.
And we've got an online portal for people to register those concerns. So as staff, you made this determination that this is a location that
Yes.
you would recommend one. And I know we've discussed that. Look at you, Mike, because that's certainly your neighborhood in that area. I don't know if it's exactly in your district, but you know that street well.
Right.
As far as traffic, I know several years ago with the prior city engineer, there was discussion about, no accommodations for bike lane, safety
Yeah.
for children walking, bikes, et cetera.
Yeah, that's a tough road, and I think this is a good way to address that. It is a unique road that it goes from town to city to county to city to, I might have that backwards, but somewhere in there it's all over the
Yeah,
board.
it's
And
true.
yeah, it is, it does seem to get some speed, because you're coming off of area, pretty much every place you're coming to it is a different speed limit. One question I have on that, is that speed display sign, is that a permanent
Yes,
install?
this would be a permanent install. So the ones that we've kind of had out there have been temporary.
Okay.
And those are the ones our police department has to just put around the city in general.
Okay,
So this is for a permanent, solar powered one.
gotcha.
Solar
So
thing.
this is like stepping up. We did the
Yes.
permanent, or the temporary,
Yes,
which is exactly how that plan was supposed to work. Go receive the data.
Yeah.
And see if it is an issue, which it turns out it is, and then this will address it. So,
Yeah,
I think that's a good, it's a good investment, but that's a unique spot to put it, because that seems to be a tough spot to patrol, and that it's coming kind of from that corner of the city, so.
That makes sense. Those are good comments.
So I'll move to approve the street maintenance and traffic safety projects.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept this proposal that we have today. Any further discussion? I just want to make a comment just in general that I think we've made some careful decisions. We weren't allocated a large amount of money from the ARPA funds in terms of what came into the city, but we've tried to spend that wisely. I do think we've really taken a lot of safety, not just the maintenance of our streets, but safety concerns. I'm just so pleased about the APS signal system
Yep.
that's in downtown now, and, we were able to provide some of those safety as well as, some of these traffic monitoring, so I think money well spent, so good job, everybody. Okay, so a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. The next item, also under old business, 6B, is discussion of 2025 infrastructure projects.
yeah, I can do this one. So we discussed this briefly last meeting as well, and we said we would follow up once we kind of heard about the 11th Street change management, and that was approved, so I can just explain it again. But we received a LRIP grant for the Vine Street reconstruction in approximately $670,000. And so-
11th Street, you're
Oh,
good.
we got the Vine
Vine
Street,
Street
and
and
then
le-
I'll go to 11th.
Too many
Sorry,
grants.
I know,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, which is good.
My fault. I'm coming.
So, yeah, so this year we received a grant for the 2024 project. So we are able to roll that money over into next year for a different project. The project that we already have planned for 2025 is in the works. That's 11th Street, which we also received a grant for. So we were able as they've been doing the design for 11th Street, the cost estimate was more than what was originally scoped and what we originally had approved for the grant. So we had to do a process, they just call it change management with the state to see if they would contribute more money. And we did get that approved. So the numbers here do accurately reflect our share of the 11th Street project, assuming like the construction bids don't go over what we're estimating. So that's a pretty locked-in number. And then with the grant rollover funds, plus the 2025 planned bonding in the amount of $2.5 million, that all leaves us with about $2.6 million to put towards a whole different project next year. So last time we attached an exhibit with some different options, projects we already have planned in our capital improvement plan, and also some other identified needs. And so we kind of left it as a broad, let's have a discussion about it. Recently, actually, I think since the meeting, I have personally had 2 calls of business owners on O'Neill, and I think Mike had at least 1 other call. I don't know if that was a resident or another business owner, but another. So just saying, what's the plan for O'Neill? It's really bad. One of them was making it sound like they have a truck that's like is bought. Doing something with their truck, I don't know what. I'm like,
Wheels are out of alignment or something?
So, I think we all know that's like a Pacer rating of 2 on a scale of 10, so it is really bad. It's obviously in an important industrial park for the city, so just the amount of heavy truck traffic, it's just gonna get worse and worse. And I feel like we spent a lot on spray patching that road. And so that, we looked into asphalt and concrete, and we would need to sharpen our pencils for which one we think we could do, because the amount we have kind of fits between both those, but essentially kind of fits nicely with the amount of money we have, and is definitely a need, so.
So at the last meeting, we kind of left it off discussing Locust Street.
Yeah, so I guess Locust Street it would be a little too quick to bump it up to next year because of the amount of utility work. Downtown work is a little more complicated to design for a full reconstruction project. So I think we need a lot more design time to do Locust Street. And that's why 2025 construction for that is a little too quick.
Okay. So is that in general any underground utility project, complete
Yeah.
reconstruction, put it that way?
I would say complete reconstruction with utilities if it's,
How quick can you design something like that typically? It's just,
Yeah,
it's basically you, because Maverick is out in the field.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think even for Locust, we're probably gonna have to hire a consultant.
Okay.
Because I actually want to do a few traffic things as well. And I have some other ideas, I guess, for the project. And so that's just gonna take a lot more time to figure out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give, everyone a picture
Yeah.
Erin is obviously capable of designing these projects, but it's just her, when we hire a consultant,
Yeah.
there's a team of people that come together. So it just kind of gives you an idea of it takes our in-house staff just a little longer just because of, there's only 2 of them and one's out in the field doing inspection work at the same time. So
Yeah.
it just kind of gives you an idea of kind of what they're having to deal with on the design side.
No, I think this is a good, I've gotten calls about O'Neill also.
Oh, okay.
And as I was thinking about this, and I've talked to Mike about it too, I didn't tell him anything new, hey, we have to look at that road, and he said, oh, really? No, it's been pretty apparent. And it's been great, whether it be kind of, I'll just say park board and also public works, the splash pad, for example, is really great for young families, and we're investing some money into that for that. And the ride share program is really helpful to, less mobile and senior citizens. But, our businesses don't get a lot of, I think sometimes they feel you take our taxes, but, you're building stuff for residents. So a lot of those business owners back there too are also Hudson residents, or a good handful of them. And the other thing too, I ride my bike back there, so I know how. I mean, it's not just some pothole. The whole road is made out of spray patch right now.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing original left. But there are also a lot of businesses back there that aren't just the big heavy semis and dump trucks and stuff like that. You kind of look back there and think, it's all trucks, they can handle it. But, you get your license renewed back there and, along with a lot of other services. So I think that's, in my experience of investigating what's the worst road out there, that one has my vote. So I think that's a good investment of our money to do at this time, or 2025.
And that falls in the category of one that could be designed and
Yes,
engineered?
yeah, because there would be no utilities. The utilities are good, those 1995.
Sure,
So
they
it'd be
were.
a very straightforward, ripping it out, putting something new in, and there you go. So.
Surface reconstruction.
Sur-
Surface,
Yeah.
thank you, okay.
Could I just pipe in here for a second?
Please do.
I hear what you're saying. I think both Locust and O'Neill are not in the greatest shape, so I understand that. I am wondering, could you refresh my memory on when Locust was slated for then, if we don't do it in 2025? It too is high traffic, high pedestrian traffic, sidewalk issues. I hear what you're saying about utilities and timing, but could you refresh my memory on when that will be done then if we don't do that in 2025?
It's in the plan for 2027. And I think this year we can have discussions, obviously, with the budgeting of moving around some of the projects. So we
Right.
could look at, the 2026 was, Laurel Avenue, Carmichael Road. So we could always look at switching those around to get it a little bit further up.
That might make sense. Just it is super high usage, business impact, pedestrian impact, tourism impact. So it too is a very important street for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then obviously, when we're going through the CIP discussion, we have roads that we've talked about in the past. We have 9th Street, we have Oak Street, we have, Stage Line Road came up with the pedestrian accommodations. So, I mean, you've been around long enough now to have some history here. And I mean, all these roads we've talked about, it's just, it's hard to select just one when you only have
It
the
is.
resources to do one road, so.
It is hard, I agree.
So I don't think, I don't know if we need any motion tonight for this, or it's basically planting a seed for the upcoming discussions at the CIP, when we start talking about the CIP meeting. Are you looking for,
well-
I guess I shouldn't speak for you.
Yeah, I guess it might be, it would be a pretty fast project to design. I guess it would be nice, we'll still need borings done at some point, so sometimes it would be nice to just get those done, then we could at least know what the pavement design would be, and that helps with the cost estimate, and maybe we would want that no matter, when it is reconstructed, because that's really not gonna change, so maybe I could at least go forward, and then we probably wouldn't have, Maverick, if depending on how the construction progresses this year, could go out and kind of start surveying it, like in between here and there too.
Right.
So just to know if it's worth putting our efforts forward. So yeah, I guess if we have a general consensus, I don't know if we need to like officially approve it as a project, because we probably wouldn't do that anyways until we know for sure the amount we're gonna bond, so.
Well, and some of those things you were saying, I know you're very busy right now in the summer, but
Right.
would some of that work be done in-house? Because I know other times we've ordered a topographic
Oh, yeah.
survey,
Yeah.
and that's an outside company.
Yeah, I think we could do that survey probably in-house
Okay.
if the timing allows. We have the equipment to do it, so we could probably do the topographic survey in-house, and then the borings we can't do. That would just have to be hired
Sure.
out, but.
Sure.
Yeah, so we do have some flexibility, but I just don't want it to linger too far.
Right.
Before
and
going.
Certainly, the sooner it's designed, then we get the most competitive bids.
Yes, exactly.
Also, get that out
Yeah.
early in the season.
Yeah.
Is important. So I don't know, any other comments on how we would move forward again. I did just speak briefly with staff here prior to our meeting tonight to, again, emphasize that this is our plan to bond for 2.5 million that was laid out, several years ago. And so the council is going to take various issues into consideration. It may or may not want to spend that much. Maybe they will want to spend more because of other issues and feeling like we need to get this road work done. So it's not a given that that will be approved, but yet it does seem that the more we can make the case early that this is a project that really needs to be done, it's more likely to ring a bell as opposed to being, well, yeah, we could do that next year and maybe put it off a bit. So I think appreciate you bringing it forward early, because I'm coming to understand that the sooner we get things identified and get the work done to prepare for it and get the bids, the more likely it's going to be successful, done on time, and a good cost. So, anyone have any comments or want to take action, or should we let it ride another month?
I mean, I'm convinced that that road needs attention. And prolonging the process of start, this isn't the final sign off or the bid approval or any of that.
Right.
If what Erin's saying is this is going to start that process, I'll make a motion to approve the reconstruction project for 2025.
Second that?
Okay. So we have a motion and a second that in terms of selecting a project for bonding in 2025, that we're in favor of working towards O'Neill Road, identified from Hanley to Tower, that section. And so that way engineering staff can move forward. So not necessarily with spending money that's nothing's been authorized yet, but designing and giving thought to what we might do, and then the full council will evaluate. So a motion and second for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same
And
sign.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
they're
ma'am.
just,
Oh, yeah,
I know
more
we
discussion.
discussed it.
Thank you.
I know we discussed it earlier, but I just was gonna, just a point of clarification, making sure that when we revisit the capital spending for 2026, that we look at moving up Locust Street potentially.
Got it.
Thank you, Sarah. I do agree that Locust definitely needs attention, and it's in the heart of our downtown. Okay, thank you. So that takes care of our old business for tonight. Next, we have several project updates. The first item is the Vine Street reconstruction project, how that's proceeding.
Yeah, that project is proceeding quickly. So the contractor, all the removals are done. They are doing a few hydrant relocations and storm sewer today and tomorrow, and supposedly ready to do curb and gutter starting Wednesday already. So that's very quick. They're, ahead of their planned schedule. So it's moving very quickly. We have, we really haven't gotten a lot of calls, a few, calls from like the YMCA saying people, are complaining a little bit about it's a little bit slower sometimes to get to the Y but it doesn't sound like it has ever been completely shut off from what I've been told. So I think, it's just, people have to deal with the construction. It's a little bit annoying. So we have tried accommodating some of the neighborhoods that had concerns, not even necessarily concerns of people speeding yet, but just kind of getting ahead of it. So we've put some more like slow or watch for pedestrian signs in kind of like that Diamond Drive neighborhood. So those are the main complaints I've gotten so far, is just like traffic control. And at the beginning of a project, people are trying to get through. People are like, oh, well, I can take this way, and then they can't, and then they have to turn around. So it's kind of just everyone figuring out what the situation is, and hopefully, people kind of figure out new routes till it reopens. So that's been the main thing pretty much.
And it's unique, obviously, with the professional building there in the YMCA. There's like one access in, right? It'd be different if we
Makes
could
it hard.
come from the back or something like that.
Yeah.
So you got to keep it open, and people are using that kind of openness to the buildings kind of cut through. And for the
Yeah.
first week, it was kind of touch and go, but I think since then, my phone hasn't.
Yeah, we haven't really.
Yeah. So call me if you
Yeah.
send me an email.
With that said, I mean, we were kind of anticipating a lot of phone calls, so I just talked with CIT, our, IT consultant. We have a number that we set up as more of a construction hotline. So we'll put that number out on the website. It'll essentially go to a voicemail that will get forwarded to like myself and Maverick, and we can just try to, it's somewhat easier to just see in our email and versus getting, all these phone calls, and then we can address things as we need to. So we'll see how it works. Maybe no one will know the number, no one will decide to use it, but
Yeah, because a lot of times our voicemail will come, encrypted into our email account. Well, we're getting 50 to 100 emails a day.
Yeah,
Things get
it's-
lost quickly, right? You try to keep up as best you can, but so this would be a dedicated hotline specifically for those projects, so that when Aaron and
Yeah.
Maverick have time, they can check off.
and it'll go to it doesn't just go into my normal inbox. There's like a whole separate inbox I can keep track of. So, so maybe we can probably just leave the number and keep reusing it every year if it's working out, or it was just kind of an extra phone number we had.
Yeah.
So
And we've done that with
That's
previous
great.
projects, when we've hired like Bolton and Mank to come and do our inspection work. They have typically set up a construction hotline. That seems to work really well. So we're giving it a shot doing it in-house.
yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
And for what it's worth, I've driven through there a few times, and it is marked very well.
Okay.
Almost, because we're on Public Works, you look for the sign.
Right.
There's, I mean, I could throw a ball and hit 7 signs with one throw. I mean,
Right.
it's everywhere. So I
Yeah.
just, hopefully people learn a little bit of patience. The good news is it might be a little bit ahead of schedule, and that trend might continue.
Yeah.
So just as soon as you get a little more frustrated, it's going to be wrapping up soon anyway. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that was marked very well.
Yeah. So they'll probably, the only update we'll communicate when like Green Street would start, but it's the same contractor. At first they were thinking maybe they would like hop back and forth. Now they're kind of thinking just full steam ahead on Vine, then probably move to Green a little bit later than they anticipated. They had thought, kind of after July 4th they would start Green. They might delay that a little bit till they get a lot more done on Vine. So we'll let those residents know when it gets closer. We've already sent them a letter with like the anticipated, beginning of July. So if that moves, we would notify them again. But they have a lot longer in the season to get that done versus, getting done Vine before the school season. So
I'm sure Randy's okay with Green being put off.
yeah, right.
You can go ahead and tell him that.
Yeah. I know. So, yeah, if no questions about Vine, go to the next one probably.
Go for it.
Oh, sorry, that's me.
Yeah, well.
Back to me. Yes, project update. This next one is the 3rd Street Hill retaining wall rehabilitation.
Yeah, so this one, it might have, if anyone was driving around here last week, there was a day or two where the 3rd Street Hill was kind of closed down. So that was, if you guys remember last year, we did have some extra funds like when the project closed out, so we decided to put it to some repairs of the existing wall up on the 3rd Street Hill. So it was an existing wall that was basically crumbling really bad at the bottom. A lot of salt had just started to deteriorate it. So they came in and finished that repair work. So that's all done.
Okay.
So you'll drive up there and, they did their best to, it looks a lot better than it did, and it was more of a functional fix, I would say, than like, ooh, this is a nice new looking retaining wall.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. I did notice that the hill was closed. I didn't know why, so that's
There you
great.
go, yeah.
All right. Good. All right, very good. So then the next item, Public Works Facility Schedule. We're going to get an update on that.
Yep. So Sarah, you don't have this in front of you, but I have a schedule that I received from Kraus Anderson. I'll email it to you so you kind of have a general idea of what we're looking at. So first thing I'll say is obviously this is tentative, right? But We had a meeting, Chief Willems and I had a meeting with Kraus Anderson, Cedar Corp, and OPM last week to talk about schedule, and this is kind of what we went over. So I know the original plan was to get into the facilities in like late April, May. So if you're looking at this, it's different than what we had first anticipated. So they're having us starting construction in January and getting into the facilities around June, end of June. And the reason being is there is some lead times on some construction materials that they're finding, specifically with the salt storage facility. And in order to keep both projects on the same timeline, they're having to push them back. And that was kind of a discussion that Chief Willems and I had with Kraus Anderson, because they said, well, we can start, let's just say we start the PD facility 2 months before we start the Public Works facility, but that 2 months that they're gonna work solely on the PD, you're gonna accrue supervisor costs at a tune of, $40,000 each month. It's like, so, and Chief and I was like, we would rather keep them both on the same schedule, utilizing the cost savings with Kraus Anderson. Does that mean we don't get into them as soon as we wanted to? Yes. Is 2 months gonna make or break us? No. So in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of why we made the decision to go with that route, and this schedule reflects that. So obviously it kind of just goes through, when they're gonna be designing, when they're gonna be bidding, which is, September, bid opening, late September, and then we kind of go through all the, contractual agreements, so on and so forth, material procurement, and then it goes into the construction phase sequencing, which starts January 14th and ends late June. So the good thing with some of these projects, or both of these projects, is there is some interior work that needs to be done with them, a lot more at the PD than at the Public Works facility, but they're able to do that work during the winter months. So, and then once the weather turns nice, they can get outside, and a lot of the outside work is with the Public Works facility, the salt storage, brine, and fuel. So, but yeah, it kind of keeps that original intent of keeping both projects on the same timeline, utilizing the cost savings with Kraus Anderson, and looking forward to it. So, as far as presenting to Public Works Committee and having input, once we started kind of getting into some of these schematic design development, I'm going to invite Cedar Corp to our meetings, and have discussions, kind of what they're, what do you want to say, designing, or what they're going forward with, and get feedback from the committee on what they're proposing. So that'll be coming forward at future meetings, so look out for that.
That sounds great.
Yep.
Very good. Any comments on that from the committee? Question?
Nope, thanks for sharing that.
That's good to know.
Thanks for the patience, because saving the money, and then, we're all anxious to keep it moving, but sometimes the best decision is take a breath and make sure the timing works for it all, so.
Agreed. Thank
Just
you.
a quick question, if I could, and I'm sure this is already built into the plan, but I just wanted to ensure that as you look at the design process, it's great that they're going to come to our meeting. Will staff be engaged? How will they be involved in that process?
Yeah, they will be involved. It's obviously, when we went through the original kind of facility study, we got together with the staff at a meeting, had like a 2-3 hour meeting with all the staff to kind of get their input on, what they'd like to see in a new facility. This is a little different when we're buying an existing site, right? There's only so much funds and so much you can do as far as moving walls inside the warehouse, the warehouse. So obviously we're gonna listen to them as far as like office space, not cute workstations, so on and so forth, the mechanics bay, listen to, our lighting and traffic signal crew, what their needs are when we're doing some of the design, how much space they need. So that's kind of where they'll be involved in it. But we'll sure that we'll get their input on it early on, so that we can incorporate some of the things that they wish to see in the facility, because ultimately they're the ones that have to work in it, right? We want to make it as efficient and pleasing as possible.
Thank you so much.
That's good. Okay, thank you. Last item, any communications or items requested for future agenda from our committee members?
I'm just wondering and maybe we can't do it at this meeting and the next meeting's fine, any updates on the alleys and bidding on those? And
There are no updates to that project yet, so, but we can keep it on as a project update. You know, we should have something more next month, now that the Vine Street project is underway. A
Right.
little more time.
And I know you and Maverick have done some preliminary design work on
Yeah,
that, so it's
it
just a
kind of
matter
was
of
just, yeah,
pulling those together and
Yeah.
submitting the bid and so on and so forth, or
Yeah.
posting the bid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. If nothing else, I would
I'll move to adjourn.
adjournment.
Second that?
Okay, motion and second for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Thank you.
Thank
We
you,
are
Sarah.
adjourned. Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.